We're good to go? Okay. I'm going to call the Star City Council meeting to order. It's Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021, 7 p.m. I'd like everybody to please stand and do the pledge with me, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're going to have an invocation tonight from Mr. Joe Carson. If you could come up here, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, for the opportunity to lead in prayer. If we take a moment to consider the passage in the Old Testament connected to the promise of prayer, we read in Proverbs chapter 3 that we're to trust in the Lord with all of our hearts and not to lean to our own understanding, and to acknowledge him in all of our ways, and that if we do so, he would direct our path. Please join me in prayer as we seek to do that this evening. Father, we come to you in Jesus' name, and we confess that it is in him that we live and we move and we have our being. Father, we thank you for the beautiful spring weather today. We thank you that we can meet in person. We lift up those who can't do so in other parts of the country. Father, we lift up Meredith to you in Jesus' name as well. We pray that she recovers quickly without complication. And Father, as we consider your business tonight, we know that all good and right and true business is your business. We commit that to you this evening, and we pray that you would lead our community members, our city council, and our mayor as they consider what is before them. Father, would you grant them with a supernatural measure of wisdom? And Lord, we thank you that we live in a city that chooses to honor you first and acknowledge you first. And so we consider these things and we ask these things in the name of the hope of this world, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that very much. Roll call.
Councilman Hershey,
Here.
Councilman Keys,
Here.
Councilwoman Salmonson,
Here.
Councilman Nielsen.
Councilman Nielsen's absent tonight. His son is leaving on a mission tomorrow, so they're doing a family night thing tonight. So good for them. So just so everybody's aware, Miss Meredith, our deputy clerk, was in a pretty serious car accident last week, so she's going to be out for a few weeks. So Ryan is doing a hat of many trades right now for us up here. So entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda with a couple changes. First is the removal of item 5A from the consent agenda. The second is the removal of item number 7, the presentation.
Okay, we got a motion to approve the agenda with the removal of 5A, which is the regular meeting minutes of February 16th. And then this number 7, the presentation from the Parks, Art, and Beautification Committee. We have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. Item 5.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda consisting of item 5B, claims against the city for February 2021.
Second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. All right, we're going to move on to item 6. We're going to introduce and appoint our new city clerk treasurer. We have Mr. Jacob Qualls, otherwise known as Mac. We'll have you come up here. He had to fly down here today he's still up in New Meadows. He's the clerk for the city of New Meadows, moving down here, I think, March 22nd.
Yes.
If you folks appoint him tonight. So I don't know if you want to say anything about yourself or if you guys had any questions of him.
I could talk all day long, so.
Would you mind introducing yourself?
Yes, I'm Jacob McQualls. I'm father of 3 great kids and 1 grandchild and 1 more to go. And 1 more in April. I lost my wife in September of 2019. So I'm moving down here for my chapter 2 or my 2nd series of books. Yeah, so this is all new. Big city life for me. Grew up in New Meadows. Mr. New Meadows, that's kind of hard to leave behind, but I'm ready to be Mr. Star.
Awesome. he comes highly recommended from the Association of Idaho Cities folks and from other folks around the state. He does do some training and whatnot for other city clerks here in the state, which is awesome, I think, as well. So you guys, any questions for Mr. Qualls? Or I don't know, do you want to go by Jacob, Mac? What do you want to go by?
I go by either. Hey, J-Mac. Call
J-Mac?
me J-Mac.
Okay.
I don't rap, so.
You don't rap? Okay. All right.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys?
I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Jacob Qualls as our new city clerk treasurer for the city of Star.
Do we need to list Idaho code or anything for that? No? Okay. We got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
Okay, we got a motion and a second.
And a
And
third.
I need to, is it roll call or is it just?
Yes.
Okay, roll call vote.
Councilwoman Salmonson,
Aye.
Councilman Keys,
Aye.
and Councilman Hershey.
Aye. Okay, we got three, and then we don't, it's just three, right? It's just unanimous? Okay, well, I just want to make sure we didn't have to have all four here.
Oh, no, normally it's majority vote.
Majority vote, okay. Okay, you are now therefore appointed, sir. Thank you. And
I'll
we'll
see you.
see you on March 22nd when
That's
you
right.
come down here.
Welcome to
7 a.m.,
Star.
right?
So welcome to Star.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to item 8A, the public hearing for the Paint Point subdivision. This is continued from the hearing on February 2nd, 2021. Just for everybody's information, I'm going to open the public hearing and I'll ask everybody if they have, or not everybody, but the council, if they have any ex parte communication or contact on this. The applicant will have up to 20 minutes to present their project. Then we'll get into public testimony. And then the applicant will have an opportunity to rebut that. And then the council will either make a decision to approve, deny, or table to a date future in this, on the calendar. All right. Are you ready to come up here? We'll have you come up here, state your name and address, please. And are we using what we have in the packet?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me ask the question. I forgot to ask this
Hey.
question. Yeah, I even said that. I need to ask the council, any ex parte contact communication regarding this?
None.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you for the time tonight. Nate Mitchell, 1470 North Rook Way, Star, Idaho. Switching up on you a little bit in the middle of an application. Mr. Williams has asked me to kind of try and bring this conversation for full circle and hopefully answer some of the questions you guys have had in the past and move us towards another productive project for the city. Last council meeting, there was some debate about R3, R4, R5. The original request was for 5 units to the acre. The plat presented back to you tonight is at 3.4 units to an acre, 7 houses.
Is this the correct one that we have up right here? That I have up?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes. So this plat represents doing away with the drainage swell southwest corner of the property, putting it into Santa Grease traps and discharging the water into the Middleton Mill Canal and reducing the number of lots by 2 from the original plat. The request, I guess, would still be for an R4 zoning designation because we're above the actual 3 units to an acre. But we do believe this complies with the testimony that's been given in the last couple of meetings. It brings you a project that, I mean, we can walk back through all the issues that have been brought up, but covenants with the existing subdivision to the west are no longer an issue. Widened roads, made bigger lots, less houses. What we're talking about is 2 acres with 7 lots on it. We do believe that this is something that's going to be positive for the city of Star. You're 500 yards from your elementary school. Families with kids that live in the subdivision here can actually walk to elementary school. I don't know if any of you have tried to drop kids off. I do on a regular basis. There's a lot of cars that go through our elementary school every morning. But what I've actually enjoyed the last school year watching is that the kids from these subdivisions along Star Road are actually walking. There's a lot of kids walking up and down Star Road, 9 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. This is another opportunity for that, where we can bring an opportunity for people to be a part of our town. And they've got walking access to school, walking access to most of our commercial district, and they're literally 100 yards from your biggest investment in recreation in Hunters Creek Park. Through this, we tried to comply or tried to compromise with the requests that have been made, and the testimony that's been given has been valid. It's made some great changes. We believe this is a great project for Star, and would respectfully request you guys to make a decision tonight on an R4 zoning designation with the 7 lots. Again, we are above an R3 that you guys, some of you requested at the last meeting, but we're 3.4 units to an acre. Difference between 6 and 7 lots on 2 acres means a lot to the project, and we're talking about one more house, and it's one more family that we can bring to Star, and might just be the next council member, might be the next city planner, might be the next city clerk. No. So with that, I would stand for questions. I think we've all been through enough conversation in the last 2 or 3 meetings with this, that the questions should be apparent, and we'll do our best to answer them.
Okay. Any questions of the applicant?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Keys?
Mr. Mitchell, thanks for coming tonight. So you mentioned that the covenants are no longer an issue. Is his project now divorced from the
Project's
the
not
HOA,
divorced.
or-
We intend to comply with the covenants that the property is restricted by, which frankly is a private contract between property owners. If there's a situation that arises that there's a conflict between what's trying to go on here and the existing covenants on the ground, that's between that homeowners association and us, and it'll be solved. And the easy answer is we intend to comply with the square footage requirements, the architectural control, and everything else.
And the only reason the covenants came up is because the applicant actually brought them up in
Sure.
the first meeting. And there were some issues between what the covenant said and
Correct.
what his proposal was. And I just wanted to make sure that he intends to comply with that
Fully intends to comply with the covenants.
and would be willing to put that in a development agreement.
If there's a development agreement required, yes,
So we don't have a development agreement because Yes, yeah.
because of the rezone, sure.
Yeah.
You're,
yeah, okay.
that's your intent, correct? That's, yeah, no, it's.
Well, and the reason I'm asking is because the proposal that's in front of us tonight doesn't reflect that. So.
The proposal in front of you tonight reflects an understanding that that was an issue that was raised. And again, if it needs to be in a development agreement, yes, it'll be in a development agreement. Again, those covenants are a private contract between neighbors. You as a city requires a set of covenants. You don't necessarily enforce covenants. Willing to state that, yes, we'll comply with square footage and architectural control requirements of those covenants.
And the only reason it's an issue for me because it does come down to what's in the interest of the city, and that's compatibility with the existing neighborhoods. And I think, complying with the covenants, especially the architectural covenants of that subdivision.
Square footage and architectural
that.
covenants are not a question. They're not a concern. Happy to comply.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions of the applicant?
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilwoman?
So I think in the past, we discussed the pathway to like loop around the whole thing. And I see that part of, the eastern section loops around, but I'm just curious why, again, it doesn't continue all the way around the entire property, the pathway.
So you're concerned about why it doesn't
connect, I think.
join the
Yep,
west
why it doesn't
side of the
connect on
property.
the west side, southwest, yeah.
I guess I would say that I see connective pathways in that the people on the west side of that street, proposed street, have sidewalk in front of them. They can get out, they can get to the pathway on the west side of the property. I would question why somebody wants to walk in those 5 people's backyards. You've got adjoining property lines on 3 of those lots. There's some open space to the north, but you're creating an alleyway. If we're gonna make a 10-foot wide pathway with a fence, with people's fences on each side of it, you've got a dark spot to walk that to us, it just doesn't make sense to encourage people to be in those people's backyards. Those people can go, those lots on the west side can get to their sidewalk. They can choose which way they want to circulate the property. And assuming that they're trying to get somewhere, they've got a couple of different opportunities to do that. I don't understand, like, so if we look at the east lot, south side, the second lot on the south, I don't know why those people would want to be behind the houses on the west side of the property.
Right, and I see your point. To me, it would be just an amenity so that they, just have a walking path in their neighborhood. And, we have them throughout that go in
Understand.
backyards. And if your goal here is to prevent, like people on the other side to walk in the other's neighbors, well, or not in their
Not necessarily to
neighbors, but on the pathway that's in the community, I think it's kind of defeating the pathway purpose.
Can I ask you this question,
Yeah.
Mr. Mitchell, real quick? Just to kind of, so isn't this considered the front of the house?
Yeah,
Right, so that pathway, the thought, what, is this a
so you
drainage?
just want, that
Common area.
was a drainage swell. You just want it connected across
Okay.
that?
Exactly, yeah,
So attaching
Got
it, so just so you could have that.
Just
loop.
attach. Got it.
exactly.
Right,
Got it. Happy to do that.
Pretty simple, yeah.
I think that's where you were going.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, thank you.
Easy enough.
Unfortunately, Hard Rock, when we were talking about it, I didn't catch that they didn't.
No, we got it.
I need you up here to talk.
It'll-
to if you're
it'll
talking,
connect.
so it's on
It will
Right.
connect.
Connect, okay.
Okay,
All right. Any other questions of the applicant?
no, not at this time, thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, we'll move on to public testimony. How many we got online? Just one? One? Okay. So then we have, did you want to talk at all? Okay. And then we have Mr. Stephen Sewell? Siwick. Wrong, oh, you signed the wrong one? Send you back to school.
That's terrible.
To read the title. No, you're good. All right, Ms. Dana, did you want to speak?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Dana Partridge, 11330 West Second Street. I'm speaking to you today as the chair of the Hometown Celebration Committee. This may be a moot point if there is no road construction planned for this development, but should you approve it, I would ask that the developer take into consideration that we will have an event on July 4th that has 3,000 people, and any sort of construction or road closures could cause some problems. So I just want them to take that into consideration.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to Mr. Del Martins. State your name and address, sir, please, up there, and you got 3 minutes.
Del Martins. I live at 1586 North Wild Mustang Place. My wife and I have resided there for the last almost 14 years. At the last council meeting, when I indicated that an R3 zoning might be a better fit with the surrounding neighborhood, the subdivisions, than an R5, I envisioned something similar to the existing subdivision to the north, which is an R3. I certainly did not expect 5 houses with their front yards facing the backyards of the Seymour property and my property. The proposed design is unlike anything that I have ever seen in Star or anywhere else. The average lot size of the revised plat is 6,054 square feet. And the sum of all housing lots is less than 1 acre. That doesn't look anything like R3 zoning. I can't imagine any other R3 zone subdivision where the building lots were this small, barely more than 1/8 of an acre in size. It also appears that service people, such as electricians, plumbers, etc., have to park in the parking lot and use a sidewalk to get access to 2 of the houses. The sidewalk for the other 5 houses do not connect to the parking lot. And I also don't know of any subdivision that does not have a street in front of the houses. And I think this subdivision should have a street in front of the house. Lot 1, Block 1, R2 zone property is probably the only undeveloped R2 property within a half a mile of an elementary school and within a mile of downtown Star. That alone makes this property unique and should remain R2 for people who want a half-acre of land to build a nice home and a space to construct another building if they want. That is what it was envisioned by the existing CCNRs, which, by the way, included on that property was a 2,000 square foot house if it was on the main, on 1 floor, and an attached 3-car garage. If it was a 2-story house, it had to be at least 1,500 square feet on the main floor. That's the existing CCNRs that are in that on the R2 property. The revised plat is unacceptable to me for the reasons I have stated. It's Mr. Williams' new Lot 1, Block 1 was already Zone 2. I respectfully request this council to deny the revised preliminary plat and leave R2 zoning in place. Thank you, Mayor Chadwick and members of the council.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Okay, Mr. Gary Seymour.
Good evening, Gary Seymour. I reside at 1540 in North Wild Mustang Place, directly adjacent to the property. My wife and I and family moved here in 2016 when I retired from the United States Air Force. We've lived there in the quiet subdivision. We've enjoyed it. It is zoned R2. We always knew that property would eventually be bought and developed, but we did not envision R5. We envisioned a like property of R2. We've come to enjoy the privacy we've had. Another concern we have is drainage. We currently have 4 sub pumps underneath our house because of the high water table. And I know that it's going to have to be built up. The property behind us is going to have to be built up. And we're concerned the amount of dirt brought in is going to affect the water table and the drainage and possibly leave us with more of a problem. Sorry, I'm reading off my phone tonight. Along with Martin's, we agree that Lot 1, Block 1 should remain R2 Wild Mustang Place. And we envisioned, if there was going to be a development, we envisioned something similar to what we currently live in with a cul-de-sac and homes around the cul-de-sac, evenly divided properties and a beautiful surrounding. I leave you with, I respectfully ask you decline the revised plan, Mayor Chadwick and council at this time.
Okay, thank you, sir. Stan and Ellen, is it Moore or Morse? Morse, M-O-R-S-E? Okay,
Thank you. I think I'm speaking. Ellen Morse, 11282 West Floating Feather Road. We live on 1 acre right across Floating Feather from this property. And our concerns also continue to be that of density, which affects property values surrounding this parcel, plus the congestion on the roadway, which is increasing daily. The original plan that the city had in place for the R2 seems really appropriate, and we want to affirm that position. Changing to higher density just doesn't seem appropriate. given the fact that all of the properties around this are R2, except for the one that is basically we have behind us, and we are 1 acre. After the February 2nd meeting, we were encouraged by the similar views stated by members of the council, and Mr. Williams received strong encouragement at that meeting to achieve, I think the words were closer to an R2. And we left that meeting fully expecting a different plan, perhaps 4 homes. So we were quite surprised to see this density for 7 homes, which is a 3.4 ask. We also agree strongly with the letter that Ms. Johnson submitted and wanted to point to page 8. I don't know if it's possible to pull up 8 out of the packet.
Is it on?
It was in the packet online.
Oh, was it on?
It's
Okay.
the last page of that, right? Yeah, that map,
Oh, the map?
the
Okay.
map, yeah. And so if that, I don't know if it can be blown up a little bit, but it shows you the lots that surround this property. There we go. Whoops. Mine did that at home too. Okay, so you can see from, you can see the skate park, you can see our 1 acre across the street, you can see the size of those lots. And then you look at the proposed subdivision, and that just seemed like it said a lot to me about not really fitting into what's happening all around this piece of property. So we also would ask that the city council deny this request as presented tonight. We thank you, Mayor and council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Okay, thank you. Is Mr. Kevin Wheelock online?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Wheelock, state your name and address, sir, please, for the record. And then the
Kevin
floor is
Wheelock.
yours.
Kevin Wheelock, 1481 North Star Road. We cover all of the property to the south of this. I heard them address the sidewalk connecting. I think that still should connect because it connects the parking lot to the front of those houses. That's been an issue for me. I would also like to discuss the fence along the creek and request that it be the vinyl fence like the one on the north side of our property that the county put in. That those 2 things, I still wish it were less dense, but I understand I support the property rights also. And Mr. Williams has paid for the property and has the right to develop it, in my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, that's all that we had signed up to speak. Would you like to rebut, Mr. Nate Mitchell? You? Yeah, that's all that's signed up to speak.
So I guess I'd address a couple of things. The first gentleman spoke about lot sizes. I do believe that all of our lot sizes proposed comply with Star City Code. Should you grant the rezone, whether it be R3 or R4, the lot sizes don't necessarily have to change. Spoke a lot about square footage requirements, 2-story, single-story, 3-car garage, all of that, like we've stated and willing to put in a development agreement. We will comply with the existing covenants on the property. I totally understand that this is currently zoned R2, which was what was requested when the Phoenixes developed the original subdivision that these people enjoy living in. I think when we talk about densities and an R3 versus an R4 and 1 different lot versus 2 different lots, it would be important to remember that when this lot was platted as part of a larger parcel of subdivision, that the surrounding property was 1 home on 120 acres. It's now a lot more than that. It's a lot more than that across the street. The Morrises have sustained a wonderful 1 acre, and they've been part of this conversation for a long time. But Lakeshore Park was an 80-acre parcel against their 1-acre parcel. It was platted at 2.5 units to an acre. Wheelocks are south of this that just spoke on a couple of acres, but just around them, you're at a standard city density subdivision. Everything around you, lot sizes are different. Yes, I understand that, but the densities at 3.4 units to an acre is a reasonable request for city services and complies with your existing comp plan that you guys just spent a lot of time and energy adopting. So the comp plan designation that says if you're going to develop or redevelop that says 3 to 5 units an acre is appropriate. Original request was 5 units to an acre. We've dropped below the 4 mark down to 3.4 and think it's appropriate for these 7 lots to be approved. Mr. Seymour brought up some concerns about drainage. Obviously, state law, city code requires that none of our storm drain or runoff water can trespass onto somebody else's property. It'll all be contained on site. No matter how high we have to raise those lots or not raise those lots to accomplish what we're looking at, which your city engineer will review all of those construction drawings, other than stormwater that we discharge into the canal, whether through a drainage basin or through sand and grease traps and treated and piped into the canal, we must maintain on our site, just like their lot must maintain their runoff water. And I don't know a lot of reasons they could have water in their crawl space and have sump pumps needing to push it out. But the reality is through groundwater monitoring, through geotech engineering, construction drawings that get approved by the city, we'll need to address all of those concerns and foundations and crawl spaces. Figuring out what groundwater level at there is not very difficult. You can look at the top of the canal. Where the water's at in that canal is where groundwater's at all the way across. Builders, developers will be required to raise those crawl spaces above that level based off your geotech reports. Stormwater contained, discharged into the canal so that we make sure that you're not running water onto your neighbors or into streets or anything like that. Morris has also talked about the plan in place with an R2. Again, like I said, you went through a comp plan update and you as a city said, should that redevelop, you'd like to see 3 to 5 units to an acre. That's exactly where we're at. I don't think there's any problem with Mr. Wheelock's request of a vinyl fence. If whatever fencing's going up can be vinyl, whether it's white vinyl, tan vinyl, white and tan vinyl, or black vinyl, it's fine. If there's a preference involved in all of that, we can address that. Again, I just go back to your comp plan that said, when we look at future development in our city, we look at 3 to 5 units an acre over this property. We've done everything we can to provide an evenly divided cul-de-sac with comparable homes, square footage wise, architectural wise, to the neighbors. Trying to bring something productive to town and bring 7 new families that can be a part of our great town. And I'd stand for questions.
Any questions of the applicant?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Keys?
So I didn't bring this up earlier. I really wanted to hear what the folks had to say about this, given the new plan. But you know, I think the council was pretty clear last time. We were asking for 2 to 3, you know, kind of 3 tops. And you know, I actually went back and looked at the recording of the meeting today, because when I was looking at this plan, I thought, well, were we not clear? Did we somehow leave a wrong impression? And after reviewing the minutes and the video, I don't think we did. And I'm just really curious why when this council and the mayor, asked for a specific thing, why the applicant didn't bring us what we asked for, number one. Number two, and then you want to speak to that one first?
Go ahead.
Okay, so number two, we're hearing a lot of public testimony about the way this project is laid out. Seems out of character with what's there, and it seems to me that it would be fairly straightforward to bring something that's a little more conventional, not as different as what's around it. I'm kind of curious why we haven't seen any, or there's been no conversation about a willingness to do that, and just bring something that's more in character with the neighborhood. Because there's been, not just in this hearing, but in other hearings, conversation about that as well. So can you speak to that, please?
Sure. So I guess there was quite a bit of discussion at the last meeting about some of you wanting R3, some of you wanting R4, some of you being fine with the way it is. That was a great conversation that took place in the council, and I've monitored that and listened to that entire meeting. I've reviewed that entire meeting. I guess I like the lively debate that's going on in the council. I take clearer direction from your comprehensive plan than I do from a debate that takes place on a Tuesday night about one single applicant. What we're asking for complies with your comp plan, does it not?
Potentially.
Potentially. So what are we missing?
Well, there's words in a comp plan about things being, what's the word I'm looking for here?
Compatible?
Compatible, about compatible design.
So you don't think complying
terms-
with the same architectural covenant requirements and same square footage requirements will make something compatible?
Oh, no, I think it could, but I think what we've been presented with here tonight doesn't do that, but
But you've been presented with the fact tonight that we're willing to 100% comply with the existing covenants. How more compatible can we get?
I point taken.
So when we talk about compatibility and we talk about that, I understand these are different lot sizes than what people have next door. I'll speak to the uniqueness. Anybody who deals in the free market world understands that things are cheaper by the dozen. And if you make them all the same, they get cheaper. So if we really want to talk about a discussion of how this impacts people's property values, if I create something more unique, it becomes more valuable. If I do something exactly like my neighbor, I become the same as my neighbor, and now there's two of us for sale. So by not building exactly what's next door, I'm making them just a slight bit more unique. And it's up to me to decide whether my unique product's valuable enough to sell on the market. So the idea that, so what we're really talking about with density, we're talking about one house. If you guys really want an R3, we're talking about one house. All it's going to do, increase the cost of an individual lot, increase the cost of that house, price that one more level of the market out of the houses we're trying to build. If that's your guys' goal, I understand. I see a lot of that going on. I see a lot of the same thing being platted every day, trying to hit a different piece of that market. You understand there's people in the market that don't mind living on a smaller lot that want less maintenance, smaller house, empty nesters or families with kids, either one. There's a market for this type of house that if we just plat it the same as everybody else, we're the same as everybody else. That's not our goal. We're trying to provide something unique, something creative for Star.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, can you explain to me, so when we're talking about the sizes of the houses following the covenants, what they say was 1,500 feet if it's a two-story on the bottom level?
Correct.
And if it's a single story?
500 feet. It's 2,000 feet total, 1,500 on the main floor.
So when we look at these layouts here, what are these house sizes right here on a,
They're all capable of exceeding those building envelopes, 2,150 square foot on the main
these
floor.
building envelopes right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
None of these lots that are present, none of the lots that are presented to you cannot comply with those covenant requirements. We heard that, made adjustments, willing to be compatible with our neighbors.
Any other questions of the applicant? Or staff? No? Okay, thank you, sir. All right, so we're gonna, do you have questions of the staff at all before I close the public hearing? Okay, we're gonna close the public hearing and go into council deliberations. Council.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I'll start. Let's see. First off, one thing I've noticed about this one and our most recent applications generally is nobody here is saying, kill the growth. Because we know that's not possible. What we're trying to do is control what STAR looks like. And I have several concerns, which are not questions, they're just concerns. First off, even if we were to take it to an R3, which was my initial ask, I remember asking that. But in order to get my motion approved, I heard definitively that it would be better to be less than R3, and I agreed to that. I do not want to offer a zoning to an area where I don't have a development agreement where it's possible that I could be causing a conflict between an existing CC&R and the private agreement that you spoke of. I don't want to be one to influence any way, shape, or form. I'd hope that would have been resolved in a development agreement to see this, because my concern is we say R3, just one more of these houses is going to come out, and I don't know if it's going to fit. I'd like to see a concept where I can clearly see that it works and it fits. That's what I asked to see. That's what I'd like to see. As it is now, and I take heavily the comments from the neighbors of the things that we can address, that it just doesn't really fit as it is. And to say an R3 and take out one more house, I don't want to see 6 of this. They are novel. They are very novel houses. I mean, the pictures of them were novel, but in the comp plan, it does say R3 to R5, but a comp plan is a plan. It's a high-level review of things we look at, and this is why we have you come before us, so we can see if we were correct in what we were interpreting is an R3 to R5. In my opinion, it's much closer to R3 than it is 5. But I'd still like to see a development agreement to show the types of houses to make sure that they do comply with the existing agreements in place.
Okay,
End of comments.
any further comments? Motions?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys?
I think it'd be safe to say I'm disappointed that we didn't get a proposal at R3. I have some concern that even if we did, that as the novel design of what's proposed still has compatibility issues here. I would have loved to have seen the applicant work with the neighbors and have at least one neighbor come and say, you know, we looked at this and we've worked together and we've got something here that we can work with. But I recognize our code doesn't require that. So certainly, as much as I would have loved that, it's not something I can require. I am a respecter of private property rights. I know the applicant owns property. But I also know that he has an entitlement right now that he could pull a building permit for, regardless of what this council does tonight. So I'm not terribly concerned that we're violating a takings issue because he does have an entitlement today. I think he has an entitlement to build R2. 2 units to an acre.
So hang on a second, we can't have any more discussion.
There would be the requirement, there would have to be plating. But there basically is an entitlement to be able to build at an R2 level today. I had mentioned before that I'm willing to go up to an R3, which is at the bottom of the comp plan. What we have tonight doesn't do that. And frankly, I'm unwilling to move forward with anything higher than an R3 tonight.
Okay, any further comments, motions?
I'll say just a couple of words. I too echo the other council members' thoughts. This has been a really tough one. A lot, I haven't heard any of the neighbors in support of this, and I think a lot of it has to do with just the overall design. I think, and the density as well. So as we said last time, I would like to see this closer to, well, an R3, no more. And something that's similar to, neighbors. That's all I have to add.
Okay, we got a motion from anybody?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys?
I'd like to make a motion that we deny this application.
Okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to item 8B, the public hearing for the Welton Estates subdivision. And I think I gotta, let's try this out here. Okay, so Welton Estates subdivision, preliminary plat and private street. I'm going to ask the council, is there any ex parte contact or communication regarding this project?
No, Mr. Mayor.
None.
No, none at all.
Okay, hearing none, we'll turn this over to Ms. Welton. And I think you have, or did I take it? Do you have it? Okay, you have it.
Have it,
Okay,
and it's on.
and the floor is yours. Maybe. I might have to do this for you if that thing's being temperamental, Brian, just so we're aware. We got to probably fix that thing. It is on. She turned it on just a second ago, I believe. Yeah. Just tell me when you want me to hit the button and I'll hit the button for
Okay,
you.
okay. Good evening, and thank you for your time, Mr. Mayor, board members, and staff. My name is Raylene Welton, and my husband Stuart Welton and I reside at the subject property at 9500 West Broken Arrow Lane. And we woke up this morning to this beautiful sunrise and thought we'd share it. It's out our back door. And I'm sure many of you probably saw that this morning. We are proposing a development of 9.26 acres located at 9500 West Broken Arrow Lane. And can you change the slide? Go forward. There we go. The surrounding neighbors to the north is Star Middle School, Iron Mountain Ridge Subdivision, and was one residence. To the east is the existing Star Cemetery. South is vacant, but it's a future Star Cemetery. And west is a single family dwelling, and that's agricultural. Within the 9.26 acres, there are 9 buildable lots designated single family residential. One lot includes our existing home. I'm sure that I can get this one to work right there. With the 1 lot per acre density, or 0.97 density, which exceeds the minimum lot size required for existing R3 zone, As allowed in section A-4E-24 of the UDC, we are respectfully requesting a reduction in total required open space and amenities. There are 5 common lots. The first lot is Lot 1, which is the roadway easement, which is a roadway. The private street should be constructed on a perpetual ingress egress easement or a single platted lot with access easement that provides access to all the applicable properties. Common Lot 7 is a 6-foot pedestrian pathway to Star Middle School that will be dedicated to the city of Star on the final plat that will eventually connect Floating Feather Road to the school for student access. Common Lot 12 is 25 feet by 190 feet of grass and open space with shrubs. Common Lot 13 is a 25-foot easement from top of ditch right along there for Middleton Mill Ditch Company and Middleton Irrigation Association. It will include a gravel roadway for ditch maintenance, and the remainder will be grass as allowed by the irrigation district. Common Lot 14 is right here, and it's a 6-foot path to access the middle school pathway. The out parcel in the southwest corner, right here, of the property has been left out of this initial preliminary plat application in order for us to complete a flood study of the portion of the property that's within the special flood zone. It's an undetermined zone A. Our surveyors in the process of surveying and removing this corner of the property. Once the floodplain area study is completed, we intend to submit a revised preliminary plat application to bring that remaining property into the overall subdivision. We agree to the condition of approval requiring a 6-foot easement, which will be extend right along there to the boundary of this, along the western boundary of this out parcel to be dedicated to the city as part of this initial preliminary plat in order to preserve the future school pathway. Next slide. The private street will be designed and constructed to meet City of Star code standards. Entrance of the private street that includes a private gate is 35 foot wide. Well, it's on the other one. Of that, 24 feet is asphalt pavement with 5 feet of drainage on each side. Per our certified engineer, Rock Solid Civil, the subdivision boundaries will match existing finished grade and all runoff will be maintained on site. Existing trees on the south side of the street will be removed. And if you want to go back to that slide, I can show you. There are some existing trees along there, and those will be removed to accommodate the 5 foot of drainage for each side of the 24 feet of pavement. We are requesting a private gate. We believe that the private gate is critical to mitigate the amount of traffic we have experienced since the school was built. We're proposing within a development agreement, a double swinging wrought iron gate that will be located, I believe, right in there. Wrought iron gate that will be 26 to 30 foot wide. It'll be located 45 feet west of the right of way from Pollard Road. And this is Pollard Road along here. Okay. The gate will meet ACHD and Star Fire Department requirements. Electric gate will be equipped with a Knox key switch as a means of opening the gate by fire department personnel for emergency access. Emergency opening devices shall be approved by the fire code official. The electric gate operator will be listed in accordance with UL 325. Automatic gate operation shall be designed, constructed, and installed to comply with ASTM F2200 requirements. We want to note that with this gate, we feel that respectfully that our request is justified. There's no signage in that area to direct traffic to the school at this point. And even though we have a gravel lane, we have a lot of traffic that are very confused with, they think it's a through street or part of an extension of Floating Feather. And we believe that once the private street is paved, Pollard will be the same 24-foot width and Floating Feather aligning with our street. And the factoring of when you factor in the cemetery patrons possibly trying to park on our street, we feel that the privacy gate would be very beneficial to detour lost souls. Before the school went in, we really didn't have much unwanted traffic, but that has changed dramatically. People just think for some reason that they're going to get to the school down a gravel driveway that usually has a chain. And then my husband's posted a lot of crazy no trespassing signs there, and it doesn't detour them at all. We actually have people that have driven through the chain, take down the chain, and they drive down to our home, and we have to explain to them that no, they can't continue on past the barn to get to the school because there's no entryway there. So it's frustrating, but it's crazy. So we're proposing within a development agreement. I already read that, so I'm sorry about that. As the property opens up, the school widens to right in here. The street widens to 26 feet with an additional foot of concrete ribbon on each side of the pavement throughout the remainder of the development. As allowed for in section 8-4D-3B5 of the UDC, we are respectfully requesting a waiver for sidewalks within the development due to the lot sizes, the common lot pathways, and the open space areas. And if you can flip to the next slide.
This one or the next one after this?
That one's good.
Okay.
That one's good. As we were reviewing like subdivisions in our area, we found quite a few actually that had a great rural appeal while still appearing groomed and attractive, much like this subdivision depicted here. This was between Floating Feather and Beacon Light off of Valentine, but there were several in between there and our home and our property. The private street will meet ACHD standards as at final plat. ACHD did recommend approval of this private street as proposed. The fire district approved the road width, the 48-foot radius turnaround and gate with required signage and a Knox key switch to maintain emergency access. The signage would include signs of no parking on the entrance to the property. As it opens up, you'll be able to park on one side of the road with the 26-foot wide. Our STAR postmaster approved and authorized the placement of cluster block units with additional parcel lock units in the location that's marked. And that is right in there, right in that area, beginning of the road, but before the gate. Our HOA that all homeowners will be required to be a member of will establish an ongoing dedicated maintenance fund with annual maintenance dues to ensure funds for future repair and maintenance to the private street, for the private street. You could go to the next slide, I believe, next one. Okay. The landscape and lighting requirements for individual lot owners as included in our architectural design and CC&R.
Must be an Amber Alert.
Our daughter sends those out, so
Oh.
I'll mention that to her. And CC&R will, I'll just begin again. The landscape and lighting requirements for individual lot owners as included in our architectural design and CC&Rs will meet or exceed City of Star requirements included but not limited to a minimum of one street tree to be planted for every linear feet of street frontage. So it'll be all those, where did we go?
The green dots?
Yeah, the green dots all along there. Of course, those will shift depending on where they want their driveways. All new trees with the development, within the development shall use the Treasure Valley Tree Selection Guide as adopted by the Unified Development Code. One city-approved light at each driveway will be required for individual owners per the CCNR. Street light design will comply with Star City Code as depicted here with that street light, with specifications for light, trespass, and dark sky lighting. 3 streetlights that are located at each corner and at the cul-de-sac will be maintained by the homeowners association. I think there's one.
I'll point at them for you right here.
Just one there.
And
There's one at there and then one at the curve right there.
Okay.
Parameter fencing will be wrought iron for visibility with some approved privacy cross fencing. We feel that the unobstructed view adds to the appeal of the large lots and that the visibility is important along the school pathway. The CCNR will be submitted to the City of Star at final plat. So the next slide. Sewer and water services will be provided by Star Sewer and Water. When the services went to Star Middle School, when they were at our lane, we purchased taps for future development within our property. So those taps are readily available there. The existing gas line to our house will be abandoned and a new line will be installed by the gas utility company. Our engineers recommend it to be installed within the joint utility easement. We will also abandon the well and eventually remove the barn. Pressurized irrigation within the development will be owned and maintained by the homeowners association. Plans for the pressurized irrigation system will comply with and be approved by the irrigation districts and will have the City of Star engineer approval prior to installation. Idaho Power will design a plan that will include relocation of the power pole that has an additional street light at the entry. The proposed preliminary plat and private road applications for the Welton Estates subdivision were created after carefully considering the Star Unified Development Code, comprehensive plan, site location, and surrounding neighborhoods. Now, Stu and I really love the area. We love our property. We've lived here for over 20 years and we plan to remain. And the truth is, our grandchildren are here and their parents also live here in Star. We want to continue to enjoy our home and beautiful views with our family. We're excited about the attractiveness of this project and feel that there is a definite need and its desire for larger lots in our community. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions of the applicant at this time?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Keys?
So let me just say right off the bat, I really like what you're bringing here, but I do have a couple of some technical questions. And so I'm curious why and maybe staff would jump in and help here, why the 10th lot came out instead of being included in the plat with the study being done with it in the plat instead of outside the plat.
It was, I think, is it better for Sean to answer this one?
So maybe staff might have to
Yeah.
jump in.
Mr. Mayor and Council, the reason for that was they are eligible for their one-time division on the property. And not knowing how long it's going to take them to go through FEMA on that small corner, staff gave them the option of submitting it or revising the plat this way, removing the corner, so they can move forward with their development this time while they're going through their study.
Okay, so assuming that the study gives them a path forward, is it something that we could include in the development agreement tonight that would allow them to move forward without coming back before the city? And that might be a question for a different member of staff.
Yeah, that might be more a question for our legal.
I guess maybe we need to ask a
clarifying question first. So that lot right now is not part of the application.
Correct.
Yeah,
It's
this piece
been,
right here.
it's been already subdivided off, correct? But we're using the one-time
There's
adjustment
a condition that will require that prior to final plat.
prior to final plat.
Yeah.
Okay. And it has to be that way, otherwise FEMA will hold up the entire thing.
Yeah, so right here,
Yeah, I know what lot we're talking about. Yeah, I'm just trying to, I want to make sure I'm understanding the, sorry, Mayor, I didn't know, it sounded kind of rude,
Yeah,
but
okay.
I think if we include in the development agreement, we're now including it as part of the application. And so I think that potentially creates a problem with FEMA. Because if they look at it, they may say, well, is this really subdivided off, or have we just already created a lot we're including with all the other ones? And so I'm not guaranteeing that, but I just am hesitant to complicate the issue. We've already had a lot of conversations with FEMA.
2 months.
And they're moving forward well, but they can be kind of sticklers on some things. And so I don't want to give them an excuse to hold everything up while they're looking at something. And then potentially, if it doesn't work out the way everybody would like, having it cause a problem with everything else. That said, so I think they're probably gonna have to come back at some point, and I mean, they presumably would have an entitlement to a building permit on that lot. Assuming
Correct, once it
FEMA
went-
approved
correct,
it,
once
so
it-
it wouldn't actually, I don't even know that it'd have to be subdivided, because it's probably dimensionally fits about a legal lot. If there were specific standards that are applying to the lots that are part of this application that the city would want to have apply to that lot, there may be something that could be added to the development agreement that just kind of is a general, all these standards apply to, future attached lots or something like that. But I don't know that a subdivision would even be required for that one. It would even have to come back in front of the city as long as FEMA approves it to be developed or to be built on. Then they could just get a building.
Because it already has a zoning designation, right?
Yeah, and either whether it did or didn't, it is a legal lot based on the lot split or when that happens, if it hasn't happened
It
yet.
will, yeah, it will be once it has frontage on
Yeah, and so when you get that cul-de-sac back there, then it's gonna be a legal lot, and then once FEMA hopefully gives their approval for it, you'd already be entitled to a building permit there. When they do CCNRs for the project, they may want to either include that lot up front, or when it gets approved by FEMA, annex it into the CCNRs so that it's subject to the same architectural guidelines and those sorts of things. I think that would work. But at this point, I think I would recommend leaving it out of the development agreement just so it doesn't unduly complicate things or unintentionally complicate things. If FEMA starts looking really close at all the documents.
Okay, and yeah, again, my goal was to see if we could find a way to streamline what's already a difficult process from the city's perspective.
it. Right, and then Mr. Mayor and Councilmember Keys, a point of clarification, I'm sorry, I just realized this, you and I had a discussion before the meeting, talking about development agreements. This application does not have a development agreement because it's not a rezone. This is a preliminary plat, so all conditions would have to be on the preliminary plat. There will be no rezone on this application.
I guess I was looking at city code, specifically 81B1 B2. And it said, the city may require a development agreement in conjunction with the annexation, zoning, or rezone pursuant to Idaho Code section, blah, 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 which may include a concept plan. And then it goes on to say, in addition to other processes permitted by city and state code, exceptions or waivers of standards other than use may be permitted through execution of the development agreement. So since we're asking for some exceptions here, I thought that would trip off the ability for us to have a development agreement here. It goes on to say in 81B6 under variances, under C, standards, the variance shall comply with Idaho Code section 67-6516. A variance may be considered as a waiver of development standards when associated with the conditional use permit, development agreement, or planned unit development. And it gives some conditions for that. But I was thinking that because we're looking at granting variances here, that opens the door to a development agreement. And a lot of this is in the new code we just adopted, so I know we're all kind of learning this.
Yep. And I'll intercept Sean. Under the state code, development agreements are technically only allowed as part of zoning and rezoning. And so as I interpret the code sections you've read, as what it does is it gives the city more tools in the toolkit to provide waivers or for applicants to request waivers, which either could be through a variance, through a conditional use permit, through a development agreement. Just looking for the other. Or a planned unit development. And so those are all different options, but the fact that you're requesting a waiver doesn't get outside the statutory requirement that the development agreement be tied to the rezone.
Okay.
Now, that said, I mean, what we're doing, like with our transportation, we're asking for an agreement with a developer, which is a little different than a development agreement. There can be, you can contract with a developer all you want, but I think the more appropriate way to request waivers if you're not doing a rezone would be through the conditional use permit process or the variance. Conditional use permit is going to give you more flexibility because the variance, you have to meet certain standards to get there. Or you can do it as part of conditions of approval on your plat, which, and I'm not totally conversant with everything that's being asked for tonight, but you can do it as conditions of approval as well. And so that it may be another option.
Okay, so that's the part I was confused about, was because I talked about granting of variances, and it talked about a CUP, which we don't have, conditional use permit, which we don't have here tonight. We're not doing a rezone, so the typical vehicles to do that weren't there, and the only one it seemed to mention was the development agreement.
Mr. Mayor, I guess, Councilmember Keys, what specific waivers are you referring to? I'll look.
Well, so the applicant has requested a variance of the sidewalk requirement. They've also asked for a variance of the total required open space and amenities. That
I believe those are all allowed through the plating process. I don't think it says anywhere in the code here that it has to be it just states that the council can approve those through the development. It doesn't say that it has to be, unless I'm missing something, it has to be a formal variance.
and perhaps it's the
Or
part I'm
development
confused
agreement.
about, because again, these are
Yeah.
code sections we just adopted and haven't applied them yet. So, I guess my point is I'm inclined to move forward with this. I'm just trying to find the right vehicle to do it.
So I'm sorry to bother. And so in addition to the waiver of the sidewalks, what else were you?
The applicant was asking for a variance on the required total open space and amenities. And if they were asking for a rezone to R1, it would be just allowed. But they're not asking for that, but they're asking for a density that's less than R1 or slightly below 1 unit to the acre. So I'm inclined to grant the variance because I think it's consistent with the intent of what an R1 would be if they were asking for one. Does that make sense?
It states in 8.4E2, developments with a density of less than 1 dwelling unit per acre may request reduction in total required open space and amenities to the council. Doesn't say it has to be a variance. It's something that you can build into the conditions of the preliminary plat.
Okay. And then the other condition of approval is since we're granting these, I guess we're not calling them variances, but these
I should call
exceptions, whatever. Okay, variances based on the fact that we're looking at a plat density of less than 1. I'd like to put in as a condition of approval that we wouldn't allow any further subdivision because that's what we're basing these variances on. And then I guess we're not going to have a DA, then the idea of moving some conditions to the DA becomes moot.
Yeah,
So-
but you could put them as conditions of the preliminary plat. They'll run with the plat.
Okay. So thank you for answering that question through staff.
Sorry for the confusion.
Okay, any further questions of the applicant at this time? I just want to ask a couple questions, just for clarity. So we do have that pathway on the northern property. Are you granting the easement now for the southern property also?
That'll be a part of the condition.
As part of the condition for future? Okay. And then would you be willing to throw in your joint trench a conduit for fiber? Because I'm working on a fiber network for the city. And I want to make sure that we have access in these new developments, be able to provide that.
Beyond willing.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I mean, we basically.
Especially in this area.
We
It's very
basically have
difficult.
dial-up. It's killer.
All right, that's all I have. Anything else with the applicant before? Okay, thank you. So we will move on to the portion. Mr. Stu, did you want to speak? Okay. Then we have Ron Schreiner. State your name and address, please, sir, for the record.
My name is Ron Schreiner. I live at 1995 North Pollard Lane. And Mr. Mayor and Councilman, my property is a portion of the north side of the private lane. And we've been there for about 45, 46 years. I have no problem with what they're doing. I think it's a great plan. I like what they're doing, actually. My concern was, and I picked up a plat drawing from Sean here about a week ago. And my concern was that they showed the demolishing of the barn and the abandonment of the well and demolishing some fences and maintaining the home. But they didn't show that they were removing the trees along the south border of their lane. And according to the plan that I've received from them, the storm drainage borrow pits on both sides of the road, the drawing showed the bar pit was on the north side of the trees where there's a little berm, and I was concerned about where that water was going to go because it's going to go on my property. But since that time, I called the Weltons today and talked to them, and they said they actually are removing the trees. I didn't know that until this afternoon, that the trees are going to be gone, so the bar ditch shouldn't be a problem, because I assume ACHD will have them crown the highway normally, and so the runoff will go on the north and the south. So if they're moving the trees and taking that berm out, I don't have an issue.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you, sir. Okay, we have Mr. Steven now that you're on this right paper. Name and address, please, for the record.
I can read. My name is Stephen Sywick, 11786 West Territai Court in Star. It's a great honor to live here in Star, and I speak in favor of this project. Should also probably note that I'm the son-in-law of Stu and Raylene. But as a resident of Star, I love seeing great stuff come to our city, great projects. And I'm also the director of I'm the director of marketing for a home builder in town. And so, as you guys can imagine, there's a lot of projects come into our cities, but there's not many who are doing 1 acre projects. It's really exciting to have 1 acre option. Since I get all the leads for our company, I can tell you about 50% of people, especially on the local level, are asking for half acre or larger lots. That is the request across the board. So God bless the previous applicant here, but I think we all know the real desire of our city to keep it great and keep things moving along. We really want to see these larger lot homes. And I think it brings a real desirable product to our area. I think the Weltons in donating some of that land for the sidewalk is super great. I don't know how the kids are getting to school safely at this exact moment in time to that middle school. And I can tell you that the gate is a definite need. I'm over there enough to know that when that road is eventually paved, that gate is going to be a huge help to not get unwanted traffic down the lane, especially if the future high school ends up getting built next to the middle school. So I think, whether you call it variance, waiver, handshake, or ask, the street width, I think that's one of the things that they're talking about. It's going to be perfect for these size of homes, and the fact that there's only 9 families that will be living on this road. When you talk about the no sidewalks, I mean, you don't have any traffic here. There's just people walking around enjoying their homes. The open space, there's going to be a heck of a lot of yards. So I feel like you're going to get a lot of green grass. It's going to be beautiful. And of course, the gate I just mentioned, I think it's worth giving the variance or waiver or handshake or ask because of this lane probably being used a lot when it's paved for the school. So I think it's going to help avoid some of the unwanted traffic there. So I'm very excited for them. I'm also very proud of them. I know a couple years ago, this meeting didn't end as well. So I'm excited to see what this becomes and very happy for the future homeowners. Thanks.
You're welcome. All right, Mr. David, is it Morehouse? Okay, would you like to speak or you just had a question mark, so I just want to make sure. Okay. That's all we have for public testimony. Did you want to come up and rebuke your son-in-law at all or? All right. All right. Okay, so go ahead, Sean.
Mr. Mayor and Council, before you close the public hearing, I wanted to add a couple things, and then if you needed the Weltons to get up and respond, we still have the public hearing open. So staff felt it justified to recommend approval without the sidewalks, with the fact that they are providing the pathway within their subdivision that would connect to that future school pathway along the west. So I thought that was a good compromise to that because we still will have students access to school properly. One thing that I did think of in the last minute though was just regarding the fencing along this, their internal pathway and then the fencing along the future pathway. Staff would like to see that open fencing. And I think we talked about it.
I believe she was talking about all of the external fencing was.
I just want to make sure that included the pathway internally. We don't want to create a corridor. And you probably mentioned that, but I just wanted to get that as a proposed condition of approval. And then the only other thing is that per the some minor revisions from Ryan Morgan, our city engineer, they do have a revised preliminary plat that we'll just make reference to that for adoption tonight that shows some different locations of street lights per our engineers recommendations. I think they added one right here and they moved this one over to the end of the cul-de-sac to also help light that pathway.
I think it's, yeah.
You can see.
Yeah, so they have it on here,
see
right?
Right there. And I think they added one right.
Yeah, there's one here,
This curve,
one there, and one here.
and then there's one out on
Yeah.
Pollard.
Yeah.
It's not referenced on the preliminary plat you have in your packet, but it is on this landscape plan. So just want to reference that. That's all.
Okay. Did you want to speak to any of that at all, or? Okay. All right, so I will close the public hearing and we can move on to council deliberations.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys.
I'm just going to move straight to a motion here. I'd like to make a motion that we approve Welton Estate Subdivision preliminary plat and private street with conditions of approval. Let me get my notes here. We have open fencing along the pathways with the grant of the variance or whatever language we're using to the sidewalk requirement. We grant a variance to the total required open space and amenities, and that the lots not be further subdivided as the variances that we're granting are part of the proposed plat density. And is that all we talked about? That was it.
Talked about the, they agreed to it, but the joint trench having the fiber.
Yeah, the fiber conduit.
Conduit.
And that we include a requirement that fiber be in the trench to the property.
Okay,
I will second that motion.
conduit, fiber conduit, not the fiber itself.
I'll take either one.
I'll second whatever we're changing. It's fine. The conduit, right? The.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I think this is a great project.
Yes, sorry, Mayor Chadwick. Regarding the pathway easement of 6 foot, sorry, didn't get out there quicker. I'd like to see that increase to 8 foot if
So-
possible.
Let me tell you why this is 6 foot, because the
Okay.
property to the west, when it comes in, is going to provide the other 6 feet. So it gives us 12.
Gotcha.
It's not,
That's better.
yeah.
Okay.
All the way across the thing. Then it'll give us a 10-foot pathway through there.
Okay,
So that's
Great.
the plan.
okay. I appreciate that clarification. Then I am good with it.
Okay, any further,
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman
I
Keys?
I just want to thank the Weltons for their patience with the process. I know it's been tough at times. And I want to thank you for the donation of that easement for the school kids. That'll make a big difference to the city in the future. So thank you very much.
And I'd just like to make comments that I think this is fantastic project. This bigger lots like this are much desired. That pathway is something that we talked about years ago. I know so a couple years ago it didn't work out so well, but I think this is a much better product overall for everybody involved. And something I think that's going to be, in my opinion, a gem of a spot, really, right next to the school. So I'm all for this project as it's stated, as it's shown.
I
So-
concur. I just wanted to say, I believe Ms. Welton said her kids and grandkids all live in the area.
Yep.
Yeah, so do mine. You know what I've learned? Should have had grandkids first. But
Make sure that's in the notes.
oh, my kids know.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
I
Okay, any opposed? Oh, that motion passes. Thank you. Welcome to Star on that one. All right, we'll move on to item 8C, ordinance number 327, Norterra Subdivision Annexation.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys?
I move that pursuant to Idaho Code Section 50-902, the rule requiring an ordinance to be read on 3 different days with 1 reading to be in full be dispensed with, and that ordinance number 327 be considered after reading once by title only.
Okay, we got a motion. We got a second?
Second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
I
Okay, that motion carries. Anybody want to read the ordinance? Oh,
Pull it up,
sorry.
I'll read it.
My apologies, sorry.
got
Oh.
it.
Oh, you have it? Okay, go ahead.
Mayor Chadwick, I move to approve ordinance number 327, Norterra Subdivision Annexation, an ordinance annexing to the city of Star certain real property located in the unincorporated area of Ada County, Idaho, more specifically at 12080 West State Street and contiguous to the city of Star. The property is owned by Itera Holdings LLC, establishing the zoning classification of the annexed property as residential with a development agreement R7-DA of approximately 19.75 acres and a central business district with a development agreement CBD-DA of approximately 32.51 acres. Directing that certified copies of this ordinance be filed as provided by law, providing for related matters and providing for an effective date.
Second,
Okay, we got a motion, and a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys?
I just wanted to note that the Exhibit B that was included in the packet has been replaced by a different Exhibit B that reflects the agreement that we had at the original public hearing last summer.
Okay. Do noted. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote.
Councilwoman Simonson,
I
Councilman Keys,
Aye.
Councilman Hershey.
Aye.
Okay, we got all ayes. That motion carries. On to item 9, reports. We'll go to Chief. You got a report at all, sir? Okay. Sean, Chris. Ryan? No, not from you. Councilwoman? You go first.
Sure, I'll make mine fairly quick. The Parks and Beautification Committee, we're meeting next week on March 15th. Not next week, I think it is. Anyone's welcome to attend. And I believe the chairman will be providing a report at our next council meeting. And then Councilman Keys, I'll let you talk about the, I attended the transportation meeting with Councilman Keys, and he's really excited about that stuff. And I think I apologize for missing my last council meeting. I was really shooting for perfect attendance, and I wasn't gonna make it. So missed a day. That's all I have.
That's all right. That's still an A. So that's good. Okay, Councilman Keys.
Mr. Mayor. Yeah, the meeting that the counselor is referring to was a meeting between the Middleton Mill, Middleton Irrigation Ditch Company, the City of Eagle, the City of Middleton, and the City of Star regarding the creation of an agreement that would allow us to use certain routes along some of the irrigation properties as an interconnected bike ped network of pathways that would connect the cities of Eagle and Middleton from the far city limit of Eagle on its east side all the way through to the western city limit of Middleton. Pretty exciting stuff. It's been something I think a lot of people talked about before, and there have been a lot of reasons given why it could never happen. Well, it's going to happen.
It's happening. Yeah.
I think it'll be a great asset to the city. That's not to say that there's not a ton of work to do to make this happen, and there's a few problems we're going to have to solve, but I think they're all solvable, and we'll get there, and yeah, it'll be a good thing. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Councilman Hershey.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very quickly, the Hometown Celebration Committee has been meeting. I have not been able to join them due to a time conflict. However, it's being run by an incredibly capable person, Dana. And I did learn they're having a fun run. So, yay. I'm probably the only one that enjoys that now. But yeah. And I'm not going to fall this time. Also, I wanted to pass on that Star Outreach is having their annual clothing drive for anyone that needs any help in clothing. They'll be handing it out at Life Spring Church on the 27th of March. And all my other committees are either meeting next month or later this month, and I'll report then. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if you guys seen Hunter's Creek. It's moving along quite quickly, actually, believe it or not. They've got a concrete east-west pathway already in. We made a little bit of modifications so it actually connects to the Flagpole Plaza, just so you're aware, over there. We also, they're starting to put the cinder blocks in right now. So, I mean, we're thinking that they'll have it done next week for the most part, except for the asphalt pathway. The South of the River plan we had over the, what was it, 2 weeks ago about? Is that right? About 2 weeks ago, where we had the public outreach on there, had several meetings. Yeah, the online outreach that we did. It was in February, yeah, just a couple weeks ago. So we had some online outreach, and it was pretty well attended with some good information coming from that. The pavilion project and for the dog park, I believe next week I will be seeing the preliminary drawings for that, along with the Blake Park stuff, so we can get that into the council probably the 1st of April is our goal for you guys to approve those. And then I've been working hard on Senate Bill 1108 AA, which is as amended. This is the one that talks about foregone. We understand that, you know, most of the cities are opposed to any new construction, taking away any of the new construction. And I've been beating the streets, it seems like, on that one. And just, I want everybody to understand the senators and legislatures that are behind this bill have all the right intentions of trying to help people reduce their property taxes. It's just a matter of taking away, in our opinion, the only true avenue of having growth pay for itself of being the challenge. And so we are trying to come up with other alternative ideas. I've been invited down to the Capitol to talk to some of the senators about those this week. So it's been kind of a fun experience, to be honest with you. And it makes you really critically think about the whole process, as a whole. So, so that's all I have, unless you guys have any questions of me. We hired our new clerk, which is fantastic. Thank God. This timing is right. I just want to thank Ryan, guys.
Just for the record, I think the council hired him.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I'm going to thank Miss Jennifer because her and I did the interviews on all these on here and she's helped me out. And so we selected and you guys officially hired him right on there. So welcome to this circus here in Star right now. But if you guys have a chance, thank all of our staff for all the work they're doing, because as I want to point out to everybody, with the incredible growth and things that are going on, we continue to do this with a staff of 11. The city of Eagle has like 80 people, and we have far more permits and stuff going through our city right now than they do. And so these guys are working their tails off and doing multiple things. Dana has moved into an office in here for us, so she's in the forefront of everybody to be able to update websites and do things like that. And she's put a flag in the ground. She's there. And so we got a lot going on in our town with everything that we have happening, not just growth, but with all the projects and stuff. And we're seeing the tip of that iceberg almost, where we're almost going to go over the top, where we're going to be good to go. And I'm excited about that. It's just been a long time coming. So when you guys see the staff, just thank them all, because I mean, it's a thankless job for them sometimes. And they're working lots of hours and lots of time for that. So, all right. Any questions or anything on me before I close it?